it's this week's segment of Insane in the Ukraine.
Those are not functional shirts at all.
No, they're not.
No, barely cover anything.
No, it's really more of a. It's dressing.
If that's
not very absorbent.
Yeah.
No, they're not very absorbent, and believe me, they will sweat. It's like when you have those awful table napkins, you know what I mean? They're like polyester for Christmas, and you just end up smearing stuffing all over your face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, glad we pulled out the good stuff.
You look like a cannibal with cranberry sauce and blood all over your mouth. What happened? What is this? It's why is there lacquer on this napkin? Napkin shouldn't have lacquer. All right, so you were telling me about this too. Everyone was discussing Elon Musk, just kind of as a jumping off point.
I love it.
What did he do?
So basically, Elon Musk, he's not pulled any punches lately on Twitter. He's almost become like the Donald Trump of Twitter, except without being, quite as mean as Donald Trump. But he basically said today, I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat, and the stakes are Ukraine.
He would get his ass kicked immediately.
He probably would, but I think it's hilarious that he said it. And then he also
didn't he do any research?
Well, yeah. I think he did. But somebody actually, I went through the timeline a little bit, and somebody said something to him like, "Are you serious, bro? I don't think you could do that." Same thing you're saying, Putin, right?
Right.
He's like, I am 100% serious.
Does he mean unarmed?
I have no idea what he means, but I love it.
He wants to do it with flamethrowers.
He's going to send Starlink in, and that's all ends.
I think he's betting 20 years is enough of a gap that he can make up for any expertise.
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy though that he's on there sticking it to Putin.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And he followed it up, by the way, just because he wasn't getting the kind of response that he wanted. Look, when you challenge somebody to a fight and they ignore you, you have to take it one step further or you walk away.
Right.
He took one step further, and he actually tagged the official Kremlin account and said, "Do you agree to this battle?" He's serious.
Yeah.
Russia, what you got?
Yeah. And then they executed Julian Assange.
Well, that's not his fault.
They just made an example of him.
Putin's not impressed with Musk.
He also said, by the way, Elon Musk, we can't do this without nuclear energy. When he was talking about this transitioning to fossil fuel free and an energy economy that's fossil fuel free.
He said
we can't
Europe
do it without nuclear. He said,
specifically, he's like, Europe right now should be building more nuclear power plants. If you don't want to be dependent on Russian gas and oil or oil from the Middle East because you don't like the politics of some place, build the plants now.
He's just a mouthpiece for big oil, that Musk. There's one thing I know about Tesla. It's their mouthpiece for big oil. I've seen Fern Gully. Also, Tesla just increased their prices, and people are bitching about it. What do you think when this administration told everybody to go out and buy an electric vehicle that they can't afford?
Yeah, and what about supply chain stuff? Didn't you understand the prices of everything have gone up? By the way, can we just say I like Teslas too? I'm just like you, and this is not going to be flattering of Tesla, but couldn't it be like Tesla powered by coal? That's the new tagline.
It's not like they don't have any nickel in them.
Right.
Nickel and all the other rare earth minerals.
Yeah, cobalt.
Got any cobalt mines around?
I don't know. I don't even know how to mine cobalt. If someone said, you are locked in this tower until you learn how to mine cobalt, and they left like a cobalt mine near me with all the tools that I needed.
Tower?
Yes. It's a tower with a trap door to a cobalt mine.
Well,
Gerald,
I didn't know.
In this situation, it's a very specific tower architecture.
Okay.
I'm not the architect. I'm not the designer.
Oh, well.
And they said, you will not get out here until you figure out how to mine cobalt. Yeah. You would just find a Steven Crowder-shaped skeleton 80 years from now.
It'd be Rapunzel.
Yeah, it'd be Rapunzel.
You would die and make sure you left your hand with a middle finger up. Yes. Just so that when they came in, they'd be a big F you.
Yes. I had a cobalt ring at one point, and then I found out that because I had a tungsten ring, and then I had a weird lip, and then I was like, oh, I'll get cobalt. And then I found out that tungsten, they crack, but cobalt, they can't crack, but it's too hard for them to cut. And they're like, yeah, by the way, with cobalt, they can only get it off with diamond cutters. And then after the surgery, when I ballooned up and I couldn't get my ring off, I said, that's it. That's it until I know that I'm 1 year through this and no more fluid retention. The point is, it's stupid. Now, less than a month into the invasion of Ukraine, Russia is apparently calling on China for military and financial assistance. And this is coming from U.S. officials.
Because after all, Russia needs more money and military power to beat up on a defenseless neighbor.
Well, it is embarrassing for them.
They're doing so poorly.
How many bets,
more money and
How many bets do you think Putin lost? He's like, Ukraine, who wants to take bets 2 days?
3, yeah.
2 weeks later, it's just the guy who he's bet with, they disappeared.
It's a great way to get a scouting report on the other team. You get to see how poorly they perform in in game time.
Yeah, well, the myth of the Russian military is just a bunch of drunken conscripts. That's what people don't understand. It's not nearly. People think of this Russian super soldier. It's not true. Often, like the IDF, people will often say, "Oh, I do Krav Maga because I don't know if you notice the Israeli Defense Force does." It's like, yeah, but they all have to do it. The reason that they do some of the things they do, for example, carrying Israeli style, is because Gal Gadot is going to go in and has no interest in learning firearm safety, so they have to reduce it to the lowest common denominator. People think it's like everyone there is the most effective fighting soldier. No, it's not really true. The Russians, they like to get drunk, and they can't even beat Ukraine.
Well,
the IDF soldiers run out and poke you in the eye.
Yeah.
That works.
You'll never see it coming.
It's true. Look,
really? Yeah.
I don't know if this will get us banned from YouTube because I'm revealing military secrets, but if this to IDF soldier, no can defend. So
it's far too dangerous to practice, Stephen.
That's it. Yeah, just don't do it.
Even the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, vowed swift retaliation if Beijing were to aid Moscow, right?
Would you sanction China if they did help out Russia?
I'm not going to sit here publicly and brandish threats, but what I will tell you is that we are communicating directly, privately to Beijing, that there will absolutely be consequences for
he looks like the pale guy in Logan.
Sanctions, evasion efforts, or support to Russia to backfill them. We will not allow that to go forward and allow there to be a lifeline to Russia from these economic sanctions from any country anywhere in the world.
But I thought he said he wasn't going to sit there and brandish threats.
Right.
We will not allow this.
That's
to
like
happen.
Tubin saying, "I'm not going to sit here and show you my penis."
or sit here and brandish.
Yes.
I'm not going to sit here and brandish my wiener.
What does he think that's doing then? No. They have to sit under the crippling economic sanctions that have closed their stock market for weeks, that have made the ruble valueless pretty much just to be thrown out into the streets, and have caused protests in their country where they know they'll be killed for protesting. But if they so much as ask somebody for help.
Yeah.
That is not a threat.
What did you think would... By the way, they were totally fine with sharing intelligence with China before.
Oh, yeah.
The invasion. We've talked about that, right? I don't know if you remember this, but they shared intelligence with China, and they're like, if you ask for China for help... And here's the thing. Who could have predicted that this war might push... And specifically the sanctions, specifically the actions being taken that were squeezing them, who could have predicted that this might push Moscow closer to Beijing and thrust Russia into the arms of an unnatural ally, China? You're going to have to learn how to live differently. Last week, I think, was it last week that we reported Visa and MasterCard?
Yeah. Visa and MasterCard and a slew of other companies, but this one specifically on the financial side, they pulled out of Russia. And basically what that did is that pushed Russia into the arms of China, again, with Union Pay.
Well, how so? Oh, Union Pay, the Chinese.
Yes, exactly.
It's state-owned.
Well, yeah.
It's Chinese state-owned, the payment system. Russia and China should not be allies.
Yeah.
They should hate each other because Russia now is vehemently anti-communist. At least that's what Putin says. But we've seen them now creating these alliances. We talked about the wheat embargo.
Yeah.
That's a big
Selling
deal.
a ton of it there, right? Selling a ton of oil.
Well, I'm surprised we pulled the clip from March 9th. We probably could have pulled the one from like February 1st. But that works too.
This was the highlight of what we had said already.
Yeah, that was a recap of what we've been saying for months. And here we are. This is the problem. When you either are all in with war, you've heard me say this many times, you either are all in or you need to be all out. You can't just you're basically declaring war without declaring war. That's the problem with these economic sanctions. This is what you end up creating alliances. And you talked about this, back in February, certainly in February, Russia and Germany going into World War II.
Yeah, in World War I, they were, bitter enemies. Germany basically defeated and crushed the Russian military in World War I and signed off with them very early on, saying, this is done, right? Because we've just beaten the crap out of you guys, and so we had to have the United States come in. And so you think, less than 20 years later, down the road, you've got this same situation developing, and you would think, okay, obviously it's basically the same teams, right? No. They signed an armistice with them, or not an armistice, sorry. They signed a non-aggression treaty with them. And that's the same kind of stuff where you're looking at politics and you're looking at kind of the economic situation in the world and going, we're driving these people into unnatural alliances that they will accept for a time.
For the record, Germany didn't honor that. I don't know if you
know. I mean...
They was like, I had my fingers crossed!
Well, and they went through Ukraine not to honor it, so that seems to be the pathway. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
The Ukraine, as we call it, we call it the route to dominating Russia.
Well, and you made a really good point about economic sanctions being war. Do you remember when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, obviously?
Well, I wasn't there, but I believe it happened.
And we talked about one of the reasons for that is that 80% of Japanese oil was coming from the United States, and then we started to move on the place they were getting the rest of their oil from, or at least a large portion of it. I'm not saying that they were justified in attacking us, but when you back somebody into a corner, you typically leave them no other option than to go to war with you. Right. And economic sanctions will do that, especially if they can align with somebody like China and China.
And the truth is, what should have happened is, if we look at World War II, is the United States, if they were going to stop supplying oil, should have immediately struck Japan. Should have immediately engaged. In other words, they were half in, they were half out, and when we ended up with Pearl Harbor, where the war came to our shores, because a lot of people don't realize we were taking actions economically. There were sanctions, but the war came to our doorstep. That's ultimately what happens. You push them into a corner, and then they feel like they've got to strike first as far as violence. Otherwise, they have no other options. So if you're going to do that, for example, with Japan, it would have been a good example. You say, all right, that's it. We can't support these guys anymore, and you go to war. You don't halfway do it. It's not a measure that works. It's not an approach that works. And I'm just wondering where all the anti-war people have gone.
They're busy.
Yeah, they're busy. And on Sunday, too, Russian, what was it? We were talking about Russian missiles hit a base in western Ukraine. You probably know about this, but I want to talk more about Poland.
Yeah. So they hit near Poland, and a lot of people are freaking out. It killed 35 people.
Right. It was it was just miles from the Polish border. But I want to talk about something that isn't necessarily what everyone is discussing regarding Poland. I don't think that Russia wants to go into Poland, but let's play this clip first.
Breaking this morning, at least 35 people are dead, 134 injured after a deadly airstrike against a military base near Lviv in western Ukraine. The strike hits an international peacekeeping and security center just about 20 miles from Ukraine's border with Poland. This comes a day after Russian tanks rolled through the streets of Mariupol. Ukrainian soldiers took cover inside buildings as people ducked behind whatever they could find to protect themselves. The city has been left for days without power and water.
Now, just to be clear, of course, you'd be a heartless prick to not have any feelings of empathy watching that. I want to be clear with all, right? Just so, not a mouthpiece for Putin right here. That's not what we're saying. That's awful to see.
Of course.
Now, that being said, the concern here, right, is you were saying
a lot of people think that the very next step for Russia is to go into a place like Poland and not stop with Ukraine. And I don't know that that is 100% what they're thinking, or even 100% what the people on maybe my side of the line would say is actually going to happen, but it's a real possibility and threat in the back of our minds going, okay, he's crazy enough to go into Ukraine.
Right.
I don't view Poland as much more of an obstacle than maybe Ukraine. I know they are better prepared.
You're absolutely incorrect.
Right. Well, I know that you
are absolutely incorrect. Poland would put up a much more significant fight than Ukraine for a couple of reasons. First off, Poland is like that. Poland is like that kid. They were forced to eat a lot of crap. You look at World War II, they sort of became a mockery.
All the world wars.
And they said, come on, don't rub it in.
Listen, sorry.
They've had it tough enough. Then the Polak jokes. We're sorry, Poland. Hamtramck, you guys had your own spot there in Michigan. Now you hear the call to prayer. Sorry, we don't know where you guys have to go. But Poland, it's like that kid in the Teddy Atlas cutout you used to get in comic books where, the bully kicks sand in his face and steals his girlfriend, and then he comes back after doing his Teddy Atlas, not Teddy Atlas. What was it?
Charles
Atlas. Teddy Atlas is the trainer for Mike
I'm
Tyson.
older than dirt.
Yeah, Charles Atlas. Then the kid comes back after doing the Charles Atlas isometrics. He's like, unhand my girlfriend, bully. And because she can't make her own decisions. And then he takes the girl back.
Bitch slaps the bully.
Yeah, but that's Poland. Poland has been through so much crap, and they made the conscious decision. They said never again. And they've done that with a lot of sort of international governing bodies too, where they've said, no, we're not going to play your game with rules, your game's out there. We are not going to let this happen again. I guarantee you also with Poland, unlike Ukraine, a lot of people think that they think that everybody there is happy to fight for that government. That's not true. That's not true. They're divided in Ukraine. There are a lot of people who understand the corruption of their government. The people in Poland know what they're fighting for as well. Not only are they better trained, not only are they extremely capable, sort of like Taiwan. When you look at the numbers, Taiwan and China, you think they have no chance. Actually, the more you look into it, sure, the United States will need to help them, but they have been setting a strategy up for years because it's something that they've been expecting. So has Poland. And I guarantee you, in Poland, they wouldn't have to create a law that bars military-aged men from leaving, because they will sit there, dig their heels into Polish soil, and fight. And I think that cannot be underestimated. If you think that Ukraine was an embarrassment for Russia and they try to do some shit with Poland, it's going to be a problem.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.